I'd really love not to go to prison. I can't even begin to describe how much I would love not to go to prison.
Someone's got to go to prison, man.
Why do all bad guys go to prison? Superhero films, action films, even horror films tend to end up with the bad guys going to jail at the end of the day. The hero swoops in, the hero refuses to kill, and the villain gets locked up. But why do they end up there? Perhaps it's to prevent them from harming society. Perhaps it's to teach the bad guys a lesson. Perhaps it's just what happens to bad guys.
You're under arrest, Mr. Howe. We've got you on kidnapping, attempted murder, and trespassing on government property.
But why prisons? Prisons are seen as a punishment for people who have committed crimes, or a way to separate out people who are seen as a harm to society. But what society are they harming? A survey of inmates in any part of the country shows a racial disparity, and many of the crimes that sent these people to prison were either non-existent or done out of desperation. However, in movies, this is not a factor. In movies, prison is just simply where all the bad guys go. Prison abolitionist Gina Dent said, "The history of visuality linked to the prison is also a main reinforcement of the institution of the prison as a naturalized part of our social landscape. This means that since we always see the bad guy go to prison in films, we learn to assume that the same thing happens in real life. And since we rarely see the aftermath of someone who has gone to prison, particularly that of non-white characters, we have very little perception of what the actual prison experience is like." Film has the ability to set up our expectations of society. If we only see bad guys going to prison, then we only expect bad guys to go to prison. Angela Davis points out, even those who do not consciously decide to watch a documentary or a dramatic program on the topic of prisons inevitably consumes prison images, whether they choose to or not, by the simple fact of watching movies or TV. It is virtually impossible to avoid consuming images of prison. The stereotype originates in white supremacy and the push for prison and the imprisonment of criminals. Films that continue to portray prisons as the end for the bad guy act as propaganda supporting prisons in the real world. The popularity of the prison abolition movement in recent years has changed some perspectives in film.
Hey!
Certain media highlights real experiences of prisoners. Other media highlights disparities that lead to imprisonment or the various pipelines leading those in need to prison instead of where they need help. Unless prison is changed from the ultimate home for bad guys in films, we will continue to look at every crime as committed by an inherently bad person.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.